When symptoms keep coming back, it's not because you haven't tried enough. It's because the root hasn't been addressed yet. Mm-hmm. And until that changes, you're just going to be in this cyclical business of flare-ups of whatever you've got going on.
Welcome to Motherhood, Aligned and Assigned, where we help guide mothers from symptoms to solutions.
We're Dr. Serena Coffman and Dr. Veronica Schiltz, nervous system specialists helping families discover the missing link in their wellness journey.
Join us as we translate complex health challenges into simple, actionable solutions for you and your children.
Because your family deserves to thrive,
not just survive.
So we have talked about a lot of different things, and we're realizing there's a couple of things we want to talk about still yet. But today we actually want to talk about this cycle of chronic illness. And we were talking briefly about how we wanted to present it, because, I feel like when we think of chronic illness, or at least when I think of chronic illness, I'm thinking I don't know, autoimmune or some of those big heavy hitters, right? It's the ones that we just know, the ones with the big diagnoses. But we were talking about a patient that actually came in, and she was like, you know what? I just, she gets the same cold 10 times a year. And I was like, I guess you're right. I had never heard a parent say that, but I've had several, children in the office where that was the case. It was every month or every week they were back with the sniffles, right? But this parent was does she have to get the common cold 10 times a year? And that was just kind of normal for her. She, it was as soon as she kind of stopped feeling sniffly, she would get right back into it. And the nice thing was that she wasn't getting she got a couple ear infections, but she wasn't getting sick. It was just this constant annoying cold that just would not go away. She actually came in for a different reason, but after 1 week of care with us, she at the end of the week was like, wow, she didn't get sick this week. It just goes to show how much little things like that can impact you. And we're going to kind of talk about this whole, she came in for a whole different reason that we're going to talk about, but it just is really fascinating to be oh, yeah, some kids literally will just get sick week after week with the same exact thing.
Mm-hmm. And it can look like different things. It's colds, we do antibiotics. Most people don't do antibiotics for colds, but if there's an ear infection attached to it, then okay, then we're better for a week and then we're sick again, over and over again. I see it happen through Thanksgiving into the spring.
Yeah.
All through the spring here. We have wild stuff going on here. And then
same thing. What is that?
Oh, different conversation. I have thoughts, but then we have
Test the
eczema. You do the creams, the corticosteroid creams, clears up and flares up again. We're done. That's not the eczema clearing up. You're not solving the problem. You're putting Band-Aids on the antibiotics. The creams are antibiotics. Constipation, MiraLAX medication, extra fiber, relief, and then you're worse again than before. Antibiotics, creams, MiraLAX.
Well, and the worst thing is when you're doing those all together, right? It's
a
combination of colds, eczema, constipation, which is kind of honestly this patient's story.
Yeah.
So
these are all straight up Band-Aids, right? You're not making anything better. You're covering it up, and then your system is wait, I was trying to give you a red flag for something that you need to solve, and you just covered it up, so no, I'm just going to get even more angry, right? So you're not imagining it. Your kid doesn't have to have 10 colds a year. That's not part of the immune system learning process.
Right.
And you're not doing anything wrong. Well, you're not going to do anything wrong to make your child sick.
Yeah.
Most likely, right? We can talk about moldy environments and all those things. But you've probably tried everything, right? And you're not lacking something here, right? But what most parents are never told is when symptoms keep coming back, it's not because you haven't tried enough. It's because the root hasn't been addressed yet. And until that changes, the root cause, you're just going to be in this cyclical business of flare-ups of whatever you've got going on. Right. So this is for parents who are feeling stuck in this cycle of better, worse, repeat. Kids with, I wouldn't say chronic illness patterns, I would say chronic sickness patterns, right? So gut, immune behavior, sleep, right? There's this chronicity cycle to it. And it's not I don't have a chronic illness, maybe, but I have a chronic sickness. And then families who feel nothing they're trying is lasting, and then parents who are ready for root causes, right? And I feel like you could be talking to me about my daughter's eczema right now. I could be the target audience for this. So Dr. Veronica, take it away. What do I do?
Adjust those lumbars. Actually, we have been seeing crazy success with eczema and just like lumbar. We're just talking about lumbar adjustments, but it hides in the lumbar spine. I will say that.
I'm gonna go rescan Hadley. Take us through this kiddo that came to your office. You were telling me that he was a pattern. Mom was like, "Oh, and by the way, like we're always sick."
Yeah.
But what did he come in for?
Yeah, so it was actually a little girl. She was having trouble in school because she was having a hard time controlling her bowels. So constipation on 1,000, was taking MiraLAX regularly, but we got to the point where her entire body just kind of doesn't really know how to have a bowel movement. Anytime that is supposed to happen, her whole body tenses up. And she just can't like relax enough to pass a bowel movement. So she came in to my office for constipation, right? She needs to go more often, but then also some of these like bowel control. But while we were doing her her exams and her scans and everything, it came up that she's like always sick all the time. This is the same illness over and over. And so we obviously, took her whole history. I don't think her pregnancy was super crazy. Oh, yes, it was. The pregnancy and the labor and delivery wasn't crazy, but she was a high-risk pregnancy. She had a history of just not great pregnancies, and so it was kind of a stressful, like, is this baby going to make it to term and all that good stuff. So thankfully, the labor and delivery wasn't too terribly bad, but the stress of carrying her all the way to term was very stressful. I think overall, not a super crazy infancy, childhood, but I do think there was a little bit of like drunken bull type of like, she's just always fine, right? Like just very like low maintenance baby. And sometimes that's great. Like we love a low maintenance baby, but sometimes that is a sign of like low stimulation. Like the body is just not necessarily aware, right? We have we always hear about the hyperactive, right? Because that's just like a very overwhelming child, but we don't always hear about the underactive, the hypoactive child, because they're not responding to the stimulus in their environment, right? And that seems like they're just a chill baby when it could be other things, right? So I think that's kind of what her childhood looked like.
Yeah. Can I give our audience some insight here? So Dr. Veronica said drunken bull. So we have some coining terms for different presentations we see with kiddos. So there can be the raging bull, of what she kind of explained, of like they're constantly full steam ahead, like bull in a china cabinet, don't slow down, go, 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 with like no regard to the chaos they leave behind them, in a sense, right? They don't have to be destructive, but constantly on the gas pedal. Mm-hmm. And then we have the kids, we're not saying she's drunk, but like the drunken bull pattern we see is still bull in a china cabinet, but like picture them kind of stumbling through everything, like low coordination, possibly more sluggish, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And then there's a combination, right? You can have a little bit of both, which I feel like at this point in time of her journey, she is kind of coming into a little bit more of that both, because then we were also starting to have behavior, which we were taking MiraLAX, and we've talked about that whole situation, right? So yeah, she just kind of had all of the things that we talk about in one case. And the beautiful thing is that after 1 week, she was like, at the end of the week, she was starting to have bowel movements again. It was actually crazy. She was having bigger accidents, because I was like, I actually think what's happening is her body's able to relax, and she's normally able to hold it, but her body's getting to that point where that autonomic system is kicking on, and it's like, no, actually we have to go now. So it's kind of like a lot of messes in that journey, but it was like, that's good, because that means she's no longer able to stop a process that she should have never been able to stop, right? Like her body should have eventually had this like, okay, well, you're not actually going to like eliminate and take care of that. Yeah, eliminate. So I'm just going to do it for you. Well, that I'm just going to do it for you system was not working. That autonomic system is what we call that. It was just not online. So then she had more control over it than she thought. When it came online, though, she was having these big accidents, because it was like, oh, I actually can't hold it anymore. And so we got through that, and she was just having these like major improvements. And the one thing that the mom said that we were like, oh, we should put this into the episode, was that she didn't get sick this week. And it was kind of a big deal, right? So it just goes to show how all of those things, she didn't mention a lot of those other things, because she came in and knew that we could help with constipation, but it was all these other things that had been brewing that actually makes sense why she was having such a hard time eliminating.
Yeah, appropriately too.
Yeah.
Okay, this feels like a big jump. This might feel like a big jump for people. So I kind of would like to go through like our healing hierarchy real quick. Does that make sense to do that? So our foundation for healing is our autonomic nervous system, right? That central nervous system. It's the first thing that starts developing upon conception, and it controls all other processes. on top of, if we're like picturing a triangle, those of you listening with me, on top of that nervous system, that balanced nervous system where we can tap on the gas or the brake, that sympathetic or parasympathetic builds our neuromuscular system. And the way I like people we can picture that really easily when we think about our babies moving through motor milestones, right? So they lift their head up, roll, crawl, sit, walk, jump, run, those kinds of things. So those are all checkpoints, neurological checkpoints in our brain that are correlated with higher level functions later on in life, right? And also our gut is in our neuromuscular system, right? It's smooth muscle that needs to be coordinated by a regulated, foundationally strong nervous system. On top of that neuromuscular system builds our gut and immune system, right? And we can tie this in by thinking our gut is what absorbs nutrients to make all of our cellular functions run appropriately. Also, our vagus nerve, which is our big brake pedal, directly links to our gut to tell our immune system to chill out or to increase, right? So really healthy vagal tone, brake pedal tone, is going to tell our gut and immune system, hey, you're firing right, you're doing the right stuff, keep doing what you're doing. Or if there's low tone, there's going to be some dysregulation and miscommunication between that brain and gut. On top of that gut immune function builds our higher level brain-based functions. So this is when we're seeing her emotional dysregulation. This is when we talk about ADHD, anxiety, depression, those kinds of things, right? And the way I can tie this in, where we can picture it, is our gut is what produces all of our neurotransmitters for our brain, all of those things, right? So that's the order in which we develop, and it's also the order in which we heal. Mm-hmm. So this is why Dr. Veronica was tracing back, and this is why Mom saw it too, of, okay, usually the things that are bugging us the most and what we come in for is like higher level brain stuff, like the ADHD, anxiety, emotional dysregulation, and then, also we're sick all the time, or we have allergies, autoimmunity. Also, I'm constipated. And then where we're operating is we're addressing the foundation, the gas versus brake pedal, to get all those things to re-regulate and connect to the brain in a healthy way. Mm-hmm. That's how they're all related.
The classic case of not eating, not sleeping, or pooping. Mm-hmm. And then, having issues with literally everything above that, which is everything. So, So thankfully we did an intensive week with her and she got incredible results. And then we also kind of backed off and did, 3 times a week. And that weekend was a very, very hard weekend. And so I just like to throw in there too, because, it's so fun to talk about the high mountaintop of like, we figured it out. This is helping. Mm-hmm. And part of that journey is also like that weekend that we backed up. So we did 6 times in 1 week and then we did 3. And that weekend where we just did 3, she had like the temperest of all temper tantrums she said she ever had. She's like, I've never seen anything like this. And the way that I was able to kind of comfort that mom, and anyone listening, like, why would I want to sign up for that, right? Because her brain was doing that all along. You just didn't see it. And that is honestly when the problem is brewing, right? Is it's already doing that. If we don't have a physical representation of it, we don't realize the gravity of the situation, right? It's like her brain was already feeling all these emotions. It was just internally processing. Now mom got to see it on the outside and mom was exhausted. And I was like, I know you're exhausted and I know this is really, really hard, but imagine how she's been feeling fighting this battle alone. Now you guys get to do it together. And so they kind of created this like, okay, we are a team and we're going to get through this because we've seen improvements. We just got to work back into it. So if anyone's ever wondering like why we care plan or why we do, the approach and care that we do, it's because there is this like onion layer situation we have to get to, and things like this happen, right? If you were to stop care now, you should just go right back. Her brain is very much fighting the process because it doesn't understand the process yet. But as we continue to walk through this care plan, it's going to pick up. And I always like to say we are the type of doctors that most people like to see us less because they're doing so much better. And that's kind of our goal, right? Getting her down to that once a week so that we can maintain the new function and order that she's going to have in her brain. We're just in the thick of restructuring and repairing and restoring those neurological pathways.
Yeah, you have to break old patterns. And then we're working with neuroplasticity. So that's like that high frequency up front. If like her brain is stuck in a certain pattern that's sending that neuromuscular tension through her body to create that obnoxious pattern back to her brain, right? That loop. Dr. Veronica has to break that old pattern and then also keep the frequency to help her body find a new healthy pattern that sticks. And that's a process depending on how long the stress has been there and how much stress she's currently in. Right, those are big hurdles we have to overcome too.
I always like to. I use this on a patient that was kind of not a patient yet, and I think it was too much. But I'll say it here because I love the analogy. I think it just makes sense to me. I always like to use the brain as like not the brain, but like to use the analogy of like breaking a horse. So I don't know if anyone has any experience with a horse, but it's like when you come in, your brain is like a wild horse. It's on its own trajectory. It's doing whatever it wants, right? My job is to get in front of the horse. And what a lot of chiropractic care can do is like follow it, right? It's like the horse will do damage and then we'll kind of catch up to it and then like hopefully clean up the damage and then it'll break off again. The purpose of an intensive week is to kind of get ahead of the horse and then redirect it in a different direction. And then I get to keep hold of that until it breaks off. And then we have to either do another intensive or, you know, intensives are, that is only under like big cases that we have to do multiple intensives in one care plan. But essentially it's like if it's all about kind of getting in front of this horse and keeping it and then leading it in the direction we want it to go so that it can kind of walk on its own and before it like breaks, if you will, right? So that's just the way that I've kind of used to show like, and if we want to talk about a momentum standpoint, right? Your brain is on its own momentum. It's on its own path, trajectory. We have to essentially get in front of it. Otherwise, we're always going to be behind it, chasing it, right? And that just, it's possible to see improvement with that, but it works the best when we can get ahead of that horse and lead it in the right direction. So basically, this is a different, we're always kind of talking the same thing every time, right? But this is basically a different approach to the perfect storm. It's just honestly, and I think this is the first patient that I've really had like everything line up, you know, with the perfect storm of like, we're not sleeping, we're not eating, we're not pooping. A lot of the clients I've seen up until this point, it's like usually one of those is off and we work on turning one of those on. But this was a case of like all three things were offline. And this simply came from that accumulation of the prenatal stress. There were some, you know, birth interventions involved, early illness, antibiotics, environmental toxins, like all of the things were in this one case. And it was showing up in all of the ways that we would expect it to, right? With the, so you know, all the things.
Yeah, an intense perfect storm creating like a pure dysautonomia is what we call that. Like, so purely she couldn't tap on the brake pedal of eat, sleep, poop. Wow. Which, I mean, if you can't eat, like you're not getting nutrients you need. Right? If you can't digest, when you say she couldn't eat, like was it nursing that was a problem when she's a baby or like currently her appetite was?
Currently her appetite.
Because she's not detoxing. Her body's full, saying you're done.
Well, and yeah, I mean, truly full. Like she's backed up forever, and they've done major like flushes of her in the medical world, but it just keeps coming back because that system has never learned. And now I feel like I don't know. I feel like because she's been on MiraLAX, and then I feel like the body's like, I feel like whenever we introduce medication of any kind, the body's like, oh well, my job here is done. This guy's coming in to take over, right? Yep. And so it's like, then it becomes this issue of like, okay, well, the body's like, well, I'm out. If you're going to just come in and flush it, I'm not even going to try, right? Yeah. And so then we have that other layer of, okay, now we have to turn things on. Then we have to repair and restore. And then we have to get it, functioning.
Yeah, and MiraLAX is also like dehydrated the colon because it just like pulled a bunch of water in and then the issue's worse. Yeah. And then there's the psychiatric effects of it. Yeah. Maybe not this episode. And yeah, so she's not resting or digesting. Yeah. Poor girl. But let's talk a little bit about neurological soft signs of healing. That's something that's been big in my office this week. Like we have big goals for emotional regulation and producing big fight or flight responses. And it's taking some time. And mom or like the mom of the child or this mom in general, like two patients I'm thinking of are like, it's not working yet. Like, wait a minute, let's chat about what are some soft signs of healing. And if we think of it in order of this pyramid, what's really interesting is, okay, a soft sign could be that she's eliminating really quickly right now. Even if it's not on her command. We kind of have to like reconnect that brain motor coordination. a little bit, but once there's safety to do that, it's probably going to come online.
Yeah.
But she's even almost like doing it backwards of like we saw some emotional dysregulation, which is like maybe some neuro detox that like she's healing fast and her body's like dumping a lot of stress really fast, which can come out emotionally.
She did have great sleep that week.
Okay, good sleep though. So it's like sleep is like, if I hear the patient's sleeping better, I'm like, we're good. We're going to be okay.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
Soft sign number 1, you're getting restoration for your nervous system, and everything's going to fall in line after you're getting restorative sleep. Like literally everything. My job is done. I'm kidding. But maybe that's like the only thing we do. What if like the only thing we do is we just help sleep and the body just heals itself? That's not true.
Well, I'm like, I have quite a few patients that aren't sleeping, but they're improving other places. So
yeah.
I would not. But I will also say, I think sometimes, again, I'm kind of heading in this direction of like, there is no such thing as good or bad. And I'm really trying to get into this point of the office of when people ask me, is that a good scan? Is that a bad scan? I've always done that with scans, but it's like also your soft signs, because sometimes, a bad night of sleep could actually be an indication that things are shifting too, right? So it's like whenever people come into my office, we are no longer like, oh, what's going better? I'm like, what has changed? Yeah. Because I'm thinking of a patient too where we're in the thick of it, and we're like getting to the point where we're going to have to extend his care, because it's like, okay, it's actually a dad. We haven't gotten to the results we want to, but he's also been dealing with this for 13 years, and like also keep that in mind, right? Like it's probably his entire life. He's like in his 40s. So like, but his actual, like what he's been medicated for has been 13-year journey. He's on the lowest dose of medication he's ever been for this like anxiety journey. And it was hard. And he's still in that, like in the hard. And so like he was having really great sleep, really great digestion. All of a sudden everything just kind of changed. And he was like, oh no, this isn't working actually. And I'm like, no, this actually means that we're headed into a new layer. And that means change is happening. So I used to say this a lot. I haven't said it recently, but I'm going to start saying it again. The only time I'll ever question if what I'm doing is not working is when you tell me nothing has changed. Is when you tell me, yeah, same thing week after week. And then I'm like, oh, no. Like sometimes people don't see that. Like that's such a big problem. Yeah. That's the only time I'm ever concerned in care. If you are getting less sleep, more sleep, all the things, that's great. As long as it's a change, adjustment, and visit to visit and week to week. That's how I know what we're doing is working. And sometimes that even means a hard week of like, I didn't sleep all week. Okay, well, let's get that back online. But you've been sleeping for the last 3 weeks. So that's a huge change. Your brain is in the middle of something. We're just going to support it, continue to get through that. Get through that. I feel like I was leading us on lots of different rabbit holes, but I feel like it's important.
Yeah. This is one of those conversations that parents are like, we are just tired of trying the same thing over and over again, and we don't know when to have hope.
Yes.
Right? So it's like, this is not going to be a linear journey. And so I think it's important to talk about, this is an incredible place to start when you're seeing chronicity of something, like something over and over and over again. Like, let's get to the root cause, because you've probably tried everything else. And all these other things you've tried, you've probably seen a plateau. So then when you see a plateau in care here, you get scared because you're like, well, shoot, this is another thing that doesn't work. It's like, no. You probably aren't seeing a plateau. You're seeing a plateau in your giant goal at the top here. But what are all of the soft signs that your body's making huge changes to create a solid foundation for you to see lasting positive change? So not a rabbit hole. I think it was good.
Good. Because I also think, just to end the episode too, of like, we talk about this a lot with kids in terms of like, I've seen kids go from, 3, 5, 6 years old, start playing on the ground and crawling everywhere. And they happen to be a kid that never crawled, right? Like as we go through care, it's like, it's cool when we see those milestones, but also like this one adult, he said, I haven't felt this way since 3rd grade. And he was kind of panicking, but I was like, this is so exciting. Like, do you not understand how exciting that is? Because your body just knew. It took you all the way back because that's where you're at, right? And so he was like, it's asthma, right? So he was like, I haven't needed an inhaler since 3rd grade. And I was like bursting because I was like, we finally are in that like last layer that you haven't felt in the last, it was 30 years at that point, right? So it's like your body's going to go back to those moments. And sometimes we can't get through it until we get through it, right? Yeah. That doesn't always look pretty, but it always is worth it.
Yeah.
So just
neural retracing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's gnarly.
And the best thing. Like, I'm so excited for it. I told him specifically, I was like, just, have you seen that like image where there's a guy like digging and he like stops at the very last blow where the diamonds are on the other side? And I literally use that analogy. I'm like, if you stop now, you will miss everything that we were just working to. So just hang in there. You can do it. And now he's going to do it. So the end.
All right. This was a good chat. I'm going to pray us out. Dear Lord, thank you for giving us this incredible power to adapt and heal. Your design is amazing, and thank you for the profession of chiropractic. At its roots, designed to trust that you've created us with this innate intelligence to adapt and heal, and not be chronically sick and know how to rest and digest. Lord, please bring the families to chiropractors who know how to remove interference so that our bodies can adapt and heal, so our communities can experience life to their full potential. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for joining us on Motherhood, Aligned and Assigned.
We hope today's episode helped you connect the dots in your family's health journey.
Remember, this is where nervous system health meets motherhood wisdom.
Until next time, we're Dr. Veronica Schiltz
And Dr. Serena Coffman, supporting you as you nurture your family's well-being.
because when you're aligned, everyone thrives.